The relationship that dates back to the struggle years. Prince Buthelezi was a member of the ANC Youth League while he was studying at Fort Hare University in the late 1940s. The university's alumni include not South Africans, but also those who would lead countries on the continent, such as Kenneth Kaunda, Robert Mugabe, and Sir Seretse. The former Nigerian president says Nelson Mandela was always diplomatic about his relationship with Prince Buthelezi.
My dear brother, when you leave prison, not if, it is when you leave prison, your problem will not be a resolution of racial differences, but also resolution of ethnic differences as well. And Nelson Mandela got me perfectly and said, "Oh, you are referring to Comrade Buthelezi. He is a freedom fighter in his own right."
The relationship was cordial because Matiba valued respect. Buthelezi's views on the armed struggle and the sanctions against apartheid were in conflict with those of the liberation movement. This caused tension between Buthelezi and his former comrades. The 1980s saw the fight against the regime being intensified. It was during this time that the regime used some homeland leaders to fight back. The Inkatha Freedom Party received support from the apartheid government, and that fueled what was called black-on-black violence in the townships, which claimed thousands of lives. During the negotiations to establish democracy in the early 90s, the violence continued. When the date for South Africa's first democratic elections was finally agreed to, the IFP announced that it will not participate. Nelson Mandela and de Klerk thought that Buthelezi and Inkatha posed a risk to peace in the country and made concessions, preserving the authority of the AmaZulu Kingdom and the IFP to appease him. This saw Buthelezi announcing that his party would participate. There were still areas that were experiencing conflicts, and this continued to cause tension between Mandela and Buthelezi. When he was in Nelson Mandela's cabinet, Mandela appointed Buthelezi as the Minister of Home Affairs in 1994, but that didn't stop Madiba from appointing him as an acting president when both Mandela and his then deputy, Thabo Mbeki, were out of the country in 1997.
I do not think that there is a crisis, and we will look at problems at our own pace.
Mbeki worked with Buthelezi in two administrations after the 1994 elections and in 1999. Mbeki wanted to appoint Buthelezi as his deputy. The aim was to manage the conflict in KwaZulu-Natal. He communicated his intention to Jacob Zuma, who agreed. However, the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal wanted IFP to give them premiership for the province. The IFP leadership did not agree to this proposal, and that led to Buthelezi not being made deputy president. That was an issue that often brought pain to him, as he felt that the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal was unreasonable. Former President Mbeki and Prince Buthelezi often made public appearances together. One was at the 1999 unveiling of the Thokoza Memorial, honoring those who died during violence in the East Rand.
My brothers and sisters, myself down. I also do this knowing that because we are human beings and therefore sinners, that we will start hating each other even tomorrow. I nevertheless apologize for the past hurts. I wish to say on record that on no occasion has the Inkatha Freedom Party's leadership ever made any decision anywhere, at any time, to use violence for political purposes.
Buthelezi continued to serve in Mbeki's cabinet, and when Mbeki was recalled in 2008, he expressed his concerns.
That is a devastating decision, not for me, but for the population of South Africa, because I don't mind them sorting out their own problems in their own way. But you see, this is a head of state, and the step they've taken is unprecedented. I've never heard of any other country in the democratic world anyway where this has been done. And I do believe that, in fact, it is going to affect us somehow. I think that in fact, it was something that was not expected. Even, in fact, I was speaking to the king at this function, and he was equally devastated by it.
After Mbeki left office, their relationship continued. In his twilight days, he requested the former president to intervene as tension between him and the Amazulu king was escalating. He also gave the former president an assignment to facilitate his return to the ANC. Mbeki's last interaction with Prince Buthelezi was during a telephone call while he was in hospital recently. Let's take a listen at what Mbeki had to say in one sitting of Parliament when Mbeki was still a head of state.
Confirm that within my own personal knowledge, the Honorable Dr. Mangosuthu Buthelezi told the truth when he spoke about his relations with the late president of the ANC, O.R. Tambo. Our history, like life itself, has produced outcomes that might not have been intended by the actors. When I first met the Honorable Dr. Buthelezi many decades ago, as he said, I approached him as a political senior to myself and a comrade in arms. In the years since he stopped serving in the national government, I've made it a point to listen carefully to everything he says. Constantly, I've marveled at his wisdom and his deep concern to sustain a value system that is critical to the survival of our democracy. I was very pleased when yesterday the Honorable Isupahad acknowledged Shenge's unfailing sense of courtesy. Even at my age, this is a deeply human characteristic I must still emulate successfully from Untwana Wapindange. Shenge, many thanks for everything you have done for all of us. Yesterday you quoted the Latin saying by Seneca, errare humanum est, to err is human. Those who act will err. Those who do nothing will carry no blemish of any errors. To them is therefore given the possibility to criticize those who choose to act. That you and I will have to accept as an unavoidable corollary of what had to be done. Not very long ago, a bishop from Cameroon who came to us to discuss the situation in Zimbabwe told us his people have a proverb which says, those charged with the task to fetch water from the river should not listen to the songs of the frogs. And neither should you, Shang.
Sophie, SABC News, Johannesburg.